going on? Y'all already know it's your boy Morbius, and today is Tuesday, and y'all know what that means. Comic Relief, episode 24. And we had to do this again, guys, because if you caught the last week's show, or you caught the replay of last week's show, y'all already know me and Skeme was going in. We was talking about a lot of topics. You know, it got into artists, and then we started speaking about, you know, Jack Kirby. And then once we spoke about Jack Kirby, we started talking about the homie Krash. And homie Krash has some of his opinions about Jack Kirby. He has, certain way he feel about his work, and, so on and so on. So tonight I figured, you know what? It wasn't fair. We was talking about him. You know, he wasn't there. So I figured, you know what? Let's bring him in. And of course, y'all already know I brought in the homie Skeme Richards in the building to help the brother out. What's going on, my brother?
Yo. What's the deal?
Chilling, B. Thank you again for coming on to continue the debate. And now finally that we have the homie Krash up in here, why don't we bring the homie Krash up in here? What's going on, bro?
What up, fellas?
Yo, wipe your feet before you enter the house, Krash. Wipe your feet before you enter the house.
You know what I'm saying?
All right. Feet clean.
Appreciate you, my brother. So basically, what for those who didn't catch last week, or if you tuned in, whatever, you're catching the replay right now, and I'm gonna break it down to you. So last week we was talking about Jack Kirby, because we was discussing different artists, of modern artists and old school artists, and Jack Kirby, of course, is gonna come up, and me having these conversations already with the homie Krash. It just happened to come out, and we was in the conversation about Krash and the way he feels about Kirby. And we were just like, constantly talking about it. And I felt like Krash wasn't there to speak his side of it. So I figured today we would do this right, So of course I had to bring back the homie, he's over here, Skeme, you know what I mean, to continue the debate. And of course, Krash. And for those, please, I got their link in the description. Hit them up. You know what I'm saying? They got amazing content, this basically follow the brothers. Y'all want to follow these brothers. But yeah, so let's get into it, guys. Let's see who's in the chat first. Shout out to everybody in the building. Appreciate you. And we got Sove up in here. What's good, my brother? Definitely curious about tonight's topic. Oh yeah. He's like, I have a big opinion on it, but I don't have a big opinion on it, but excited to hear some of your thoughts and views. Yeah, definitely, man. Can't wait. Paul Morris, what's good, my brother? Shout out to Big Paul in the building. Then we got Jason, yo. What's going on in the building? And of course, we got the homie. Where he at? Here we go.
He goes.
Naj was good. We had a lot of fun. Love these guys, man. Awesome people, yo. So the topic for today, we're gonna get into it. Hold on, let me mute this phone because I'm getting like. So we're gonna talk about it. It's going down. Jack Kirby. Is he King Kirby or the Jester Kirby? This is what we're going to discuss. And we're going to touch up on some hip hop. We're going to dabble into that conversation as well. Probably get into some hip hop comics as well as hip hop as, the music and the culture real quick. We're going to touch on some topics there. I think y'all want to hear. So, yeah, let's get into it. So I'll pass it off. Basically, y'all already know we were talking about Jack Kirby. We were saying, of course, how much of an icon he is and such an amazing creator, and so Krash, how you feel about Jack Kirby? What's your take on Jack Kirby?
Jack Kirby is definitely a staple and an icon of comic books. He was an inspiration to a lot of people. So I don't take none of those things away from Jack Kirby. But throughout the years, as comic heads do, when we start discussing how we feel about our collections or just comics in general, I'm the type of person where I don't just fall into stuff. I do my research, I have my own opinions, and I have strong opinions, and I don't shy away from my opinions, even though they may not be politically correct. So I remember getting into discussion.
I don't want to cut you off, brother. My bad. I messed up on this. Cheers, bro. Cheers. Everybody in the chat, if you got yours, those catching the replay, if you're watching this, cheers to you.
Cheers.
All right.
So, brother. As passionate comic heads do, we're going back and forth about who's this, who's that. So So, he was, bigging up Kirby. I was like, yeah, I mean, cool, but he's okay as an artist. Now, I'm not talking about his contribution. Obviously, his contribution was a big one. You know what I'm saying? But so my opinion to him was, he was like, well, he was the only one doing it, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, yo, hold on. There were other artists that were doing it as well. But in my opinion, I appreciated their artwork way better, regardless of nostalgia, regardless of who started what. I was looking at it purely from a skill set point of view, because I'm an illustrator as well. I was an aspiring comic book artist when I was young, so I draw. So I felt I had an opinion on this that I would be able to express, and I said, you know what? There's cats out there like Neil Adams. I thought Neil Adams was a better artist than Jack Kirby. You know what I'm saying? In every way, outside of, him not starting stuff. And then you also got Steve Ditko, who with Spider-Man. I mean, he was an okay artist. I mean, I didn't like him as much as I like Neil Adams, but I definitely liked him better than like Kirby. Now, the thing with me with Kirby is I don't like how he draws his hands. I don't like the positions that he puts his characters. He always puts his characters in these weird positions that don't look odd. I just wasn't sold on it. You know what I'm saying? And to me, what made Kirby as great as he was Stan Lee. You know what I'm saying? Stan Lee pushed people back in those days, and this is my opinion, because of course I wasn't there in those days, but for me, in my opinion, people were appreciating the comic in general, not specifically Kirby's work. So as a package, people were like, holy shit, this is some amazing stuff. And half of them probably thought it was amazing because of what Stan Lee was writing, not so much what Kirby was drawing. But Kirby was able to attach pictures to this amazing story. So, of course, you're going to have a certain level of appreciation of those pictures, especially if you ain't got nothing else to go on. Especially back in those days when the majority of good stories didn't have pictures. Now, all of a sudden, you got pictures, so you're going to have this appreciation for those pictures. But then as the comic industry started growing, the culture started growing, then you had other artists that were way more competent than, Jack Kirby, in my opinion. So, of course, every generation, there's always that argument that says, okay, well, of course, the next generation is going to be better. Then you got people like Jim Lee, who's phenomenal. But now, we're not doing that. We're comparing apples to apples. Other artists that were around when Kirby was around. And that's why I brought up Steve Ditko, you know what I'm saying? And Neil Adams, Don Heck, Joe Kubert, who had his own art school back in the days. You know what I'm saying? These are all artists that I appreciated way more than I did Kirby.
Yo, you're 100% correct. I agree with you totally on that. Like everything you just said, I agree with you totally on it.
Word.
Kirby is the Frazetta of this world. Like you got all the other dudes that was doing that fantasy style. Frazetta is that guy, right? Mm-hmm. Kirby is that guy. Yeah, I get you. You don't like certain poses, and you don't like. I get that, but you're also coming from a person who's an artist himself. Artists are always going to critique other artists.
Absolutely.
Right? So take yourself out of artist mode. Just put yourself into like 14-year-old comic kid mode, right? And judge it from being that and versus, I'm an artist myself. And like you said, I agree with you. There was Neil Adams, there was all these guys, but the impact of Kirby, and yes, it could be because Stan Lee was writing and stuff like that. Yes, it's the complete package. But when you buy a comic book, what do you buy? What draws your eyes to it first? Not the story. The artwork is what makes you pick up that book.
Yes, right? Absolutely right.
So I agree with you on like like the same way you don't like certain poses and stuff like that is when we get into the whole Liefeld thing.
Right? Don't get me started on Liefeld.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I get it. But Kirby being like the OG and like, I don't want to say originator, but originator of the superhero-y thing.
Yeah.
He's the foundation. So the foundation is always going to be rough and raw because he doesn't have anyone to look at and be like, how do I draw? Like, how do I do this? So as generations go on, someone's going to look at the previous and be like, how can I make that better? How can I make that more realistic? And we haven't necessarily, in 2021, we haven't necessarily gotten better. We've gotten different because there's a lot of artists drawing comics. And I'm like, that looks like children's work. That looks like, you know what I'm saying? So it's, you know what I'm saying? But like, I agree with you in all those senses. Like, yeah, it's the combination of Stan Lee and, you know, and the Kirby and then the characters. And I get it. But
see, your comment on how you said, you know, when you're buying a comic book, what's the first thing you're looking at? You're looking at the artwork. Yeah, but like I said, when we put ourselves back in those days, seeing any picture attached to words that weren't there before is going to get you excited. You know what I'm saying? Right. It could have been. So the big question I ask is if, and of course this is all hypothetical, if you change Kirby with somebody else, would it still been the same? And my answer is yes. If Stan Lee would have picked, I don't know, Gil Kane or Don Heck over Kirby, I think the same thing would have happened, because what people were gravitating to initially were the pictures, but what kept them and what kept them reading and what had them impressed was the story. It wasn't just the pictures, because those pictures you could have got from a comic strip in the newspaper. It was the stories that helped them appreciate the pictures.
No, you're 100% correct. You're, like I said, it goes hand in hand. You can't have sneakers without strings. It goes hand in hand.
Exactly. So
So let's see what we got here. Matt says Kirby drew the Silver Age characters that we all remember from our childhoods. I'm a kind of 80s, 90s kid, but Kirby is the one who created the images.
That we all grew up with. He said, so this is like, it's just what, you know, Krash was saying. Krash was saying, you know, you're not even knocking that, should I say. That's not, you're not knocking his contribution, you know, to the comic, you know, universe. You know, to the comic, you know, this reality that we live in this comic world with all these characters that he pretty much fathered, you know, of course, a lot of it with the help of Stan Lee, or Stan Lee refined a lot of his characters, you know, and really molded them and took them where they needed to be, and vice versa. So a lot of what you guys are saying is pretty much 100 on par, if you ask me. You know, it is synonymous, this argument or this debate, you know, actually is needed, because a lot of people have this sense of like, you know, yeah, he's a king, you know, that's his, you know, surname, you could say, you know, we call him, you know, King Kirby, you know, because he fathered a lot, you know, it's not because of his actual artwork, but not to take away from it either, because a lot of his artwork was ruined. I'm gonna agree in some of the stuff that you said with his, you know, positions and the way that he was putting characters in that seemed kind of unnatural or just like superficial. You know what I mean? If you want to look at it that way, it was just there was no real dynamic to it. I get it, but a lot of his pencil work, when I started looking at his pencil work before it was inked by fucking Vince Colletta, who just like fucked up all his shit, you know, and simplified it. That's why you see a lot of his artwork, especially in Thor, you know what I mean? That you just see like little eyes and, you know, a little eyebrow and no expression. There's no texture to the face. It's just a line, slit, you know, and that's it. But when you look at the pencil work, so much more detail. You know, he had so much more structure in the pencil in his original work. You know, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to get some of that on here. And I know we wanted to show some stuff, but I totally didn't get a chance. I ran out of time. But if you go back and look at some of that, it's very impressive, and it kind of it holds up to a lot that was going on. Like, you know, like you were saying, a lot of these artists, you know, Neo and, you know, Steranko, but once it was inked and colored and brought, you know, to the comic and published, it was something totally different. It was very simplified. But but I know what you're gonna say, but it still doesn't, you know, he still was he still drew them, you know, in the proportions, and he drew them in the positions they were in, regardless of the detail, regardless of all of that. I get it, you know, but I'm not gonna take away from the fact that yes, there is some stuff that when you do look at, you know, you're kind of like, well, compared to other artists of the time, you know, yeah, it kind of is a little, you know, weak. Yeah. We want to call it, you know, a little weak compared to that, you know. But you know,
you're reluctant to say that. I see.
Of course.
So, well, let me throw this out there, okay? So, my criticism of Kirby has zero to do with inking, okay? Whatever inking does or doesn't do has nothing to do with how he's drawing it, with the parts that I have an issue with you know, with his dimensions, with his layout, with his you know, his positioning, how he positioned his characters. You know what I'm saying? The inking has nothing to do with that. So, and through the years, my issue has always been people that want to have the argument with me to say, you know what, Jack Kirby's the shit. That's it. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean he's the shit? He's the dopest artist there is. Well, no, it's multi-layered here. The devil's in the details. You know what I'm saying?
Say that.
You can never say he's the dopest because the game has been upped. Like, I love I love this. Like, there's people that's done things that I'm like, yo, I love this dude. I love that guy. Like, Kirby's Kirby. But like, when it's all said and done, Kirby created some shit.
Yeah, listen. I look at it like automobiles, right? Not to I look at it like automobiles, you know. And me and Krash, I already gave him this metaphor. I look at it like automobiles, you know. So you look at that old school 1964 Chevy, you know what I mean? Fucking with the white wheel, white ball, just it looks beautiful. But for that time, it was amazing. And when you look back at it now, you still can admire it. You still can appreciate it for what it is and what it was at that time, you know, and it sparked a lot of other ideas in a lot of other card manufacturers. It brought a whole new idea and concept that they, you know, said, hey, we can make it better. Like you said earlier. Oh yeah, I know how to make that better, make it flyer. You know what I mean? I'm gonna change the wheels up on it. I'm gonna change the you know, the not so many angles. I'm gonna smooth out the angles on the car. You know, and it's gonna look way fresher than that. But if it wasn't for that, I would have not made this. You know, so that's how you kind of got to look at it as well. It's almost like, you know, he kind of grandfathered everything in that what you see now.
Let me ask you a question, Chris. So, because the way I'm hearing you, it's maturity now with you. Why you see Kirby, how you see Kirby. Right, because at 14, were you like, oh, this is ugly? Were you at 14?
Absolutely, yes.
Wow.
At 14, when I saw Kirby's work, I wasn't really that impressed with it. I was like, and this is before I started getting into the history of it. So
you're a strange person, man. Because every kid was like,
my introduction to Kirby was without his history. It was just seeing his artwork. And then it wasn't until after I saw his artwork that I started doing the math on it and like, okay, who is this dude? What is his contribution? What did he do here? And then every time I was looking back,
what year are we talking? What year are we talking?
This was 1984.
Okay.
1984, 85. No, 83, 84. Yeah.
Okay.
Early 80s.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So then
were you already doing art? Were you already doing art at that time?
Well, yes, because that's actually what attracted me to comic books. One of the first comic books that I really started digging, I was seeing comic books for a while, but when I really started gravitating towards comic books was when the Marvel Universe came out, where they had the characters just posing and had all the information.
Right.
That blew my mind. That is what really got me into comic books because it allowed me to be able to practice my drawing. It was easier for me to draw a character that was standing so you could see all his costume as opposed to copying from the panels and doing some action. I wanted to see just the character. So when I saw that, I was like, yo, this is crazy. So then that's when I started getting more.
You were already judging as an artist, not as a fan per se, like as just an average comic reader. You were already judging his work as being like, oh, I wouldn't have drawn it that way. Like you were already judging. So you didn't come in with like an open. I'm not saying you didn't come in with an open mind, but you didn't come in with just a straight comic reader mind. You came in with like, I wouldn't have drew that way.
Well, again, I always go back to hip hop. Okay, what got me deep into my artwork was I used to be a graffiti artist. So, you know, there was a lot of cartoon work that graffiti artists were copying. So I did the same thing. I was looking for inspiration to draw graffiti characters. So comics books were the easiest thing, and that because I used to draw. You know, when I was growing up doing graffiti, I had a partner I did graffiti with. He was great with letters, but sucked at characters. I was amazing with characters and sucked at letters. So we used to get together, and then we used to bomb walls, the handball courts, and all that good shit, right? So as I'm looking for inspiration for characters, that's why the Marvel Universe inspired me, because I can take the way those poses are, and I can incorporate that into some hip hop graffiti shit. I can put a gold chain on Wolverine. I can put some shell toe Adidas on Nightcrawler. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So that was what I was heavy into. So when I'm looking at Kirby's stuff, I'm saying to myself, I can't put this in a graffiti piece. This will look weak. This will look whack. I don't want to be made fun of if I use this. So it wasn't so much that I had a closed mind. No, I was approaching it like any brand new person that approaches comic books. With whatever experience they have before comic books, that lays the groundwork for your appreciation and your criticism.
All right, so that's early '80s. So what do you think Lee or Krash or Days or any of them dudes in the '70s? They was seen in those guys. They were patterning off of Kirby, that '70s era of writers. Who, if you
I would say more like Frank Frazetta, Von Bode.
No. When they were drawing like when Silver Surfer, like Scene, when they were drawing Silver Surfers and all them, that's the '70s. If you ask any of those guys, they're going to be like Kirby is king because they're '70s guys.
Okay.
Right? Like I understand if somebody like coming in the '80s, yeah, I would 100% hands down. Somebody would be like, nah, Kirby's horrible. Like, and they would go with the next line of defense, and the next line of defense would be who, like Byrne or whoever.
Right.
But I agree. I can roll with you on your assessment. I can definitely roll with you, and I would never be like,
yo,
Kirby is it. That's it. There's nobody better because there are people better.
Right.
Yes, and I was saying to you guys before.
Before we go any further, why don't we put up some stuff and let's just start looking at it. Let's just present it. So we'll do some Kirby stuff, or should we do let's do some Steranko first. I guess we could
Kirby. Set it off with Kirby. He was, he was the first one. Set it off for him.
So we'll set it off with Kirby. Hold on a second. So unfortunately, guys, this is the only way I could set it up. I haven't figured out how to put it off to the side. I'm working on that. So here we go. So yeah, so here's some Kirby, early Kirby, right here. I believe this is 65. I might be wrong, but it might be a little later. But look at I get it.
I get what Krash is saying. But who was doing that in 65?
Exactly. That's the question.
Nobody.
You know what I mean?
But just because you couldn't find you couldn't find anybody else that wanted to do that shit. You see what I'm saying? You have to remember the story.
He had the vision.
Nah, I think Stan Lee had the vision. I think he just wanted a job, bro. And Stan Lee was like, "Yo, nobody else wants to do this."
Crash on that. Stan Lee had the vision, but isn't it funny how ever since Stan Lee died, ain't nobody talking about Stan Lee, and everybody really pushes towards Kirby?
Right?
Have anybody noticed that? I kind of figured that because I'd be like, nobody be fucking hashtagging Stan Lee, and he'd be like, everything that Stan Lee and Kirby do is all Kirby.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Nobody since he died, I'm like, what's up with that? Like everybody was like waiting for him to die to like be like, nah, Kirby's the man.
Right.
You know, it was kind of weird, but here's some more Kirby.
It always is. One person dies and everybody's like they flip the script on everything.
Right.
Now, you guys have to also remember back in those days, okay? If you remember Stan Lee's story, Stan Lee was a serious writer, okay? He was never aspired to be a comic book writer. It was a lane that was open to him and he went with it. As a matter of fact, he changed his name because he didn't want to be labeled as a dude that drew comic books because people would have laughed at you. It was silly to do work for comic books and to be taken seriously in your field. Right. So consequently, if Stan Lee's going around saying, I need an artist to draw this shit, any serious artist is gonna be like, hell no, no, kick rocks. And then Kirby was like, hey, I'll do it. So just because Kirby was the first one to do it doesn't mean he did it good. He was just the first one to do it, and nobody else was doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody else wanted that job of being laughed at as a comic artist.
Right.
Right.
Hey, shame on everybody else. I think we
and like what Mulit was saying there.
I think we're right. Kirby with so many classic stories and characters that it's hard to be too critical of his actual artwork. Like Krash said, the art and the stories and the memories go together.
Absolutely.
Yes. And Kirby is not Kirby is not the greatest artist of all time.
No, he's not.
He's not. But
that's not
a Jester.
That's not what made Kirby great. You know what I mean? It's his contribution, you know, to the comic, you know, universe and
right.
You know, that's what made him great, and that's why he's the king. You know what I mean? It's not his artwork. I mean, like even what, you know, I'm saying Matt Wood said earlier, you know, he's not a fan of Jim Lee. You know, and that's, to me, that's like crazy.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, Jim Lee, like, for real, you're not a fan? And it's okay. Like you were saying, everybody have their opinion. Everybody has their way of looking at this and agreeing on who's great and who's not. But there are certain people, you know, that you cannot deny their contribution to this. So whether they're great artists or not, they're still, you know, and I believe we all agree on that. You know, Kirby,
absolutely. But my argument is with people saying that I can't criticize Kirby.
No, and that's why you could criticize any artist you want.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's
absolutely. I know I have that right, but I'm sharing the past experiences of why I even had this opinion in the first place. Because people are all, as soon as I say, well, I don't think he's that good, they look at me like blasphemy, like, oh my God, how can you say that about Kirby? And like I always do, I like to make the same comparisons to hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Kool Herc, everybody calls him the godfather of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? But he wasn't a very good DJ.
Right.
He wasn't a very good DJ at all. If you listen, you can go on YouTube right now and listen to old Kool Herc parties, and you can judge for yourself. You don't even have to take my word for it. You know what I'm saying?
You're 100% correct. You're 100%.
He's not good. You know what I'm saying? And yes, he started it, and everybody calls him the Godfather. But the same way I feel about Kirby is the same way I feel about Kool Herc. For me, Africa Bambaataa is what made hip hop what it is today. It wasn't Kool Herc. Kool Herc just happened to be at the right place at the right time, had a cool hustle to make a little money. He wasn't interested in hip hop culture. You know what I'm saying? Bam was.
But Kool Herc's career was like 5 years. Kirby's career, right, is much longer than 5 years. Kirby's impact is much longer than 5 years. Kirby's creations is much longer than 5 years. I don't give Herc the Godfather title. You was the spark that sparked Grandmaster Flash and Africa Bambaataa. You were the spark.
Facts.
Kirby was not only the spark, he was an influential player in the mix. He was an influential player. He didn't just come in and dip out. His passion was drawing those comics.
Yeah.
So is he the Godfather? I would say so, because who else was doing it before him?
Right.
He was the Godfather.
Not for nothing, was so saying here about Jimi Hendrix. You know, he's an innovator and legend, but not my cup of tea.
Right.
And once again, how much music did Jimi Hendrix put out?
Right.
Right.
But in the span that he was out, he did some amazing shit.
Yes.
But it was nothing that, you know, a lot of artists mimic him and did a lot of, you know, and try to mimic what he did and did a lot of music based on Jimi Hendrix and his style. But it wasn't something that actually, you know, made a shift in the music culture.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. His career was too short.
Absolutely.
Right. And it was like a kind of like a, you know, like if you look at the Loki, you know, show with the time stream, it was just like a little time stream that went on. You know what I mean?
And, like people that get on that like that tough talk of like, no, you can't disrespect Kirby, or you can't, like, we all got our opinions and everything. Unlike other people, all your points are super valid. Every point you've made is super valid. So anybody who can't sit back and be like, damn, well, you are an artist and you are breaking it down, saying like, I didn't like his positions, but some people are just, I don't like him, he's whack, so-and-so. You're like, no, here's why. If you can't tell me why something is good or something is whack, you shouldn't be discussing the topic.
Right.
Those are the people. Those are the people who are just like, oh, Kirby, because they heard Kirby's name a million times.
Right, and that's my position. Is wait, hold up, let's have a discussion on it. Just don't fall into it and say, oh, Kirby this, that, and third. Let's have a discussion about this shit. It's just in my experience growing up in my younger years, there was a lot of people that didn't want to have that discussion and saying they were looking at me like I was crazy. It's like, no, let's have the discussion. Just don't fall into it.
Guys, real quick. So we looked at Kirby, right? We saw some Kirby. Now let's look at the same time. Let's look at Steranko. This is the same era, same time. You know, we're looking at Steranko now. You know, sick fucking cover. You know, that is.
You see, with Steranko, you know, I'm like, you know, what is it? The Captain America has high heels on. You know, I have my little criticisms of like stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's the swashbuckler thing, man.
Right.
You're right. I'm just being funny right now. No, that's a dope ass cover.
Look. See, and to me, that's not a dope ass cover. To be honest with you, that's not a dope ass cover to me. Like I don't. It's just Steranko, right? Like it doesn't like captivate me, and that's why I didn't want to take like nothing that was like Keys, you know, or the amazing covers that they did. I just grabbed those, you know, random but of the era, so we could compare them, you know, to Kirby at the same time. You know,
even Don Heck, who drew the Vision, the Avengers issue with the Vision on the front of it, right?
Yeah.
That artwork to me was dope. That was a dope. To me, that was better than what I saw coming from Kirby at that time.
Okay, I mean
that cover blew me away.
Okay,
you make valid points. Like everything, matter of fact, they're not even valid. They're like factual points.
Factual, right? They're facts.
Yeah.
Facts are facts. You know,
well, I have a receptive audience here. Like I said in the past, I've had people that say, "Yo, why are you even having this conversation?" So at least you guys are entertaining the conversation.
Those people are closed-minded. Those people, they're not trying to have an educated comic conversation. You know what I mean? They just want to shut shit down because that's all they know. You know, so they're not trying to go too far and too deep. Now, like once again, I want to do another comparison. You heard me? I want to do that. Yeah, I already know, son. I'm gonna cut back. This is my last one right here. You know, so here we go. We got some Neil Adams. We mentioned them before. You know, once again, around the same time.
Who PJ said was overrated.
Here we go. That is a hot cover. I kind of picked that because that's the last one that came up. I had to rush. So this was a hot cover. You know. That
concept right there. Go back to that picture, bro. Look at that concept. Look how the concept, the fact that the Joker, which comes from playing cards, has Batman on the card. Right. And it's an ace of spades. You see what I'm saying? That's layers. That's depth right there.
Yes. Yeah. I love that cover.
Hell yeah.
That's emotion. You see that? Kirby, in my opinion, Kirby can never give you that emotion. He doesn't draw accurate emotions in his characters.
Yo, so all right, so that comment, you put that comment back up. I love Steranko, the one Thomas Jackman put up. All right, now I love Steranko on Nick Fury and on Doctor Strange, but not so much as or Cap. Now
I agree.
Yeah,
Kirby was drawing a slew of people.
Yep.
And I liked them. I feel like as an artist, a great artist can draw multiple different people, right? Multiple different characters. That's what makes him the king. And Steranko versus, and I agree 100%. Like I love Steranko's work on the Nick Fury and the Doctor Stranges, but it wasn't the same
on the X-Men.
It wasn't. No, it was not. It was not. You saw the cover right there.
But Kirby did.
Right, 1,000 of those motherfuckers.
Right,
he did every fucking title. He ran through so many. He's done so many monsters. Like it's insane. Like when I go and dig deep into Kirby, like when you really go look up at his comics, like man, his catalog is
his output was ridiculous. I give him props on his output. Catalog,
he's almost like he's like Master Ace.
Like, catalog is deep.
Hold on, but Master Ace, like lyrically, it was like he nice, he got nice, but it's a little, you know, when you try to compare it, you know what I mean, the other artists, he kind of falls to the wayside.
But his longevity on dopeness is greater than all those other people.
Exactly, because his catalog is insane. He keeps pumping it out.
He's never put out switching it up. He's never put out a whack album.
No, he's no. Dude, that Saturday night, that's on rotation. Like that album.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, he's never. I like the dude that just stays level and just does dope shit the whole time. Doesn't need to blow up. He's better than an underground artist.
Right.
Even better than the above ground artist, but he just plays that lane where I'm gonna just give my fans the dope shit every time. I'm not gonna get too big so I can fall off. I'm gonna just do what I do.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. Right,
he's definitely consistent. Yeah. I mean, but on that tip is the same beef I used to get into the barbershops back in the days when people were naming their top 5, and when they threw Biggie in there, they would look at me like I'm crazy when I said, nah, I wouldn't put Biggie in my top 5. They look at me like, what? I said, Biggie only had 2 albums. He had only 2 albums. Was that?
That's a generational thing.
Right. That's a generational thing.
Because when people name Biggie, I'm like, stop. Dude had 2 albums, and 1 album wasn't that good.
Right.
You're right. Exactly. but in the barbershop, they look at me like I'm crazy. They say, no, let's have the conversation. Why is this, taboo?
Let's discuss this shit.
Yo, because they're fans. We do this.
Right.
We're fans.
Right, exactly.
And see, you know what? That's a great point, Skeme, and that is the angle that I always swept under the rug, is the fact that I did these things. You know what I'm saying? I was a DJ, I was an MC, I was an illustrator, so I did these things. And it's different when you're a fan and don't do those things. Your opinion comes from a different spot. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. When you live in it, when you're there, it's different.
Yeah.
Exactly. When you live in it, you're there, and you actually interacting with these people.
Right.
It changes everything. It's not the same perspective, and that reality shift is like totally different.
Right.
So and then we get it. We understand. So but on that note, it all goes back to the contribution. What was put in. Like, again, we said, we were talking about Master Ace, we're talking about Kirby, and those two are synonymous with consistency in their time, which right now Master Ace is still here. He's still doing it, still dropping shit with Polo, still doing their thing. And then you have, Kirby in his time for how many decades this man was not consistently dropping shit.
And he wasn't on a major label the whole time.
No, the whole time, right? So this is where he gets the title king. This is where he's able to receive that title, because of his longevity in the comic universe and what he brought to the comic universe. That's why, like, at the end of the day, I have to truly bow down, to Kirby. Stan Lee, yes, he had a lot of contributions, but when you really look at the story, it was kind of like Kirby who kind of was like, yo, come in, come on to Stan Lee. Because he was older than him. He brought him in. He put him under the wing. He said, come in. And Stan Lee was like, hold on a second. He's a young whippersnapper. So he got all these fresh ideas. You know what I mean? And he's like, yo, check it out, old man. This is what I got. But if it wasn't for that old man, you know what I mean? The dude that's sitting in the park, that he on the bench, that every day you see him and you sit down and he give you some little slick shit that you just like, oh shit, all right, that's what's up. You know what I mean?
Stan Lee be Stan Lee right now without Kirby.
Right, exactly. This is where I was leading to. So in your life, we all in the hood, we all had that person where it was just like, yo, word, you dropping them little jewels, old school head, dropping them little jewels. But without them little jewels that he gave you, planted them seeds that he gave you, you would have not been where you at right now. You wouldn't be who you are. He helped build that character. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so Stan Lee, yeah, I give him much respect. But when it comes to Kirby, it's like that's another level. But it has nothing to do with the artwork. And that's where people get stuck, because it kind of becomes like a celebrityism, right? You kind of like overlook the faults of the celebrity when you're so much of a fan, when you're so consumed by this celebrity that you oblivious to the faults, and you don't want to discuss those faults because it forces you to actually, you know, come to reality, like actually, you know, have to deal with those, you know, those lies you've been fucking telling yourself that you're like, oh no, he, you know, he don't rape kids. No,
Right.
I love my artist. He doesn't cheat on little girls. No.
Yo, because it's like with the hip hop shit. With the hip hop shit, I'm like, there's dudes that had these titles in like 90s. I'm like, oh, they're the shit. But then fast forward to 2020, I'm like, yo, fuck them guys. Right? I'm like, yo, they're shitty. They
exactly
back then.
You know? See, and that's the shit right there. See, they're right. Exactly.
Yes, they needed each other. But in my opinion, look, they did need each other. But in my opinion, Stan could have done it with another artist. Kirby couldn't have done it without Stan. I believe that in my bones, bro, and we can argue about that, but I believe that if there was no Stan Lee, there would have been no Kirby.
No. If you look at history, if you look at how it went down,
look at history. What happened when Kirby went to DC?
Kirby gave him the opportunity. How can you say that? It was Kirby who gave Stan Lee. Yes, look, Kirby, based on what I've read, Kirby gave Stan Lee the opportunity to come on and work with him with Fantastic Four, work with him with the X-Men. You got to understand that he gave him this opportunity because he saw a young kid and he was like, man, this thing got ideas. He wasn't a fucking hater. He was not a fucking hater. He was just like, yo, I see the next generation in this young kid, you know, and he's doing it. He's dedicated. He's here. He's busting his ass. He's working. He's getting my coffee. This motherfucker, he don't slip a beat. You know what I'm saying? He writing some story. He's on it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. It's like you cannot overlook those things. You know, you got to kind of put yourself in that person's, you know, a chair, in their shoes, you know, and look at it from that perspective. You know, because when you look at it from that perspective, it kind of broadens everything. And you're just like, yo, this nigga gave him the opportunity. If it was not for Kirby, you would not have Stan Lee. It's not the other way around.
Right. Somebody said Kirby did great for 20
listen,
years.
Kirby was already established. Kirby was established. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. All right. Technically speaking, as far as opportunity goes, I see what you're talking about. I'm saying hypothetically speaking that Stan Lee would have been able to succeed without Kirby, and Kirby wouldn't have been able to do it without Stan Lee. Like you said, he loved Stan Lee's ideas. If Stan Lee wasn't around getting his coffee and giving those ideas, I don't think Kirby would have been around for long.
Hold on.
You know what I'm saying? But look at Stan Lee. Stan Lee,
my nigga. I'm sorry. I don't mean to say that. My bad. I take that back. My broski. Let me tell you something right now. We're not on the phone, so I'm gonna hold back. We're not on the phone. When we're on the phone, you would swear we were about to like throw hands.
Yes.
My dude, hold on a second. Hold on. Fall back.
I'm listening.
Fall back. You got your drink? You got your drink?
I'm listening.
Eternals. Did Stan Lee have anything to do with Eternals? Did Stan Lee?
Bro, we could do this all day.
There's more.
You can cut little pieces up and present them in nice little neat pieces.
When he went to DC, did he have anything to do with New Gods? You know, he had anything to do with anything. But that's what I'm saying. That
all right. How many successful titles did he have at DC other than New Gods? What else is he known for in DC?
That's not the point.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
That's not the point I'm trying to make.
I'll wait.
That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that it was not Stan Lee. Without Stan Lee, Kirby was still doing his thing. Yes, and I get what you're trying to say, and I understand that. But you got to understand that those characters that them dudes broke, you know, established and took off with, like Fantastic Four, those were Kirby's. No. If Kirby did not present that, you would not have that. Like, it was Kirby's seed that presented these characters. It was Kirby's seed. It was him who first manifested all these characters that we have. And Jim and Stan Lee, it's like, my dude, come on now. It's like somebody giving you the car, right? Once again, we're gonna go back to the car because you know I love the car. You see that, right? I always make the metaphor with the cars, with the everything, with the flippers and everything. You see that, right? So let's take it back to the car. This is a new one now. It just came to me, right? So we got the car, right? Here we go. I show you the car, right? I give you the car, and I'm telling you I know how to turn the car, right? This is the steering wheel to get the car, but I don't know how to move the car.
Okay.
Feel me? And then now Stan Lee created the engine. He was like, yo, now I know how to move this car. But if it was not for him inspiring him to put that spark in him to create that engine,
right,
like displaying this car to him and telling him all the details of the car and how it should move, Stan Lee would have never, ever have thought about creating an engine. He wouldn't even know what the fuck that is. And that's my argument. That's my argument. That's not even my argument. That is my debate when it comes to this, that you got to understand that when he presented that car to Stan Lee and told him, I need you to help me move this car forward. And he said, what's a car? You know, like, what's this? And he's breaking it down to him. Here you go. And now it has to fit within this paradigm. You know, I have the steering wheel, so it has to fit within this trunk. So it has to be a specific size. So you got to, it's deeper than just like, no, he broke it down. He gave him the blueprint, and Stanley was like, all right, I'm going to take this and I'm going to build on this.
But what Krash just said, Krash was like, how many successful titles did Kirby have when he went to DC, right? Here's my thing. How many gold and platinum albums did Master Ace have? Didn't mean that they were not dope. Didn't mean they were not enjoyable. Just because Kirby didn't have successful...
Right.
It doesn't mean that his stories wasn't dope and like you didn't read them, because Master Ace didn't have gold and platinum hit albums every album, but every album is a banger.
Right.
So the Stan Lee thing is like, okay, yeah, he wasn't selling what some of the Marvel stuff was selling, but it was still enjoyable to read and look at.
Word. Facts. Okay. Facts. You know, it goes all back. It goes back to.
Like I said, we can do this. We can do this all day.
We could do exactly. You have your opinion. You stand where you stand. Skeme stands and I stand where I stand. Even though you're wrong, but we.
But see, okay, going back to what Skeme said. Look, hold on.
What?
Let me address what Skeme was just saying about the whole Master Ace didn't have platinum albums and whatnot, but you still dig Master Ace, right? Okay, cool and dandy, right? But see, the thing is, if you're in an industry that part of what gets you out there is recognition, okay? Whether you go platinum or not, we're not talking, let's just take that out of the way, okay? Like I asked Morbius, name me another title other than New Gods off the top of your head that Kirby did with DC, successful or not.
I can't tell you because I don't care for DC. So you got me on that one. I would have to fucking Google it right now because I don't care for DC. So, but that's the only one that pops up to me because I was like, you know, I remember New God in DC.
Okay, fine. But like I was trying.
I got you.
So I was.
Hold on.
All right, so I'm trying to
keep going. I got you.
Go ahead.
You got me amped, son. Nah. I'm telling you, this guy right here, bro. He really gets under my skin right here, man. Nah, he know already. He's smiling like he innocent.
Yo, Commander.
He know.
There you go.
Like that's the look that he be giving me when he be like, yeah, like I got you. Yeah, I got you.
Yo, Commander. Paul Mark just said Commander, which is true.
What?
You know?
Paul Mars.
Paul, what Paul saying?
What he said? Oh yeah. Here we go.
What?
He's like, what? I don't get it.
You don't know that comic?
You don't know it?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. That's another Kirby right there.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Here we go.
All right, cool. But you know what? You're talking to Paul, though. Paul is like Mr. Silver Age. He owns like every Silver Age comic book in existence.
That's my ride or die homie right there, son. Me and Paul.
Right, but the thing is, I'm not having this debate with Paul. I'm having it with you. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I got the chat. That's why I got the chat, bro. They be
okay, cool,
down,
bro.
Son.
You can have as many people as you want.
Get your chat against my chat, and we go chat for chat. No.
But yo, so Thomas Jackman just said it was a different market. DC didn't give him the room.
All right.
That's like a major label being like, nah, we don't like that right there.
Right. And they shut them down. They blacklist them. They don't support them. They don't promote them like they should with other artists. And here we go, right there. Classic right there.
Okay, yeah. Good point. That's a great point. Okay. But moving past that, Stan Lee has a lot. Stan Lee, in my opinion, has more success as a writer than Kirby had as an artist. Okay,
I'll agree with you.
And you were talking about Skeme was talking about longevity, right? Skeme, you were talking about longevity. How long? Compare how long Stan Lee was writing compared to how long Jack Kirby was drawing.
Okay,
age. Now, Kirby is older.
Yes,
he is.
Yes.
Yeah,
and he comes from listen. Kirby didn't have the internet.
Published work. I'm talking about published work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at Kirby's. Bro, that's kind of.
Go ahead.
That's pretty deep right there, because if you compare how much Stan Lee wrote, now remember, once again, let's go back, right? Well, no, we could say this. Kirby was already in the game for many years before Stan Lee came on, so he was already pumping out a lot of work.
Right.
You got to put that in the equation, my dude.
No, I have
workout. Put a lot of work out, and then comes Stan Lee.
So he already got 20 years on him.
Exactly. So, dude, to say that, it's like, I don't know.
They didn't start at the same time
as much as you would think it would, because of the fact that Kirby already was so involved, had so much work out way before Stan Lee was on the picture. Now, after Kirby died, yeah, Stan Lee continued to put stuff out,
right?
You know what I mean? But compared within his, when you take both lifespans, you know, and you put them together. Now I'm gonna do my homework on this, because now you done. But based on how much, you know, information I already have established on both people, I'm going to say here that Kirby has way more work put out than Stan Lee, as far as published work that Stan Lee wrote and published work that, you know, Kirby drew. I'm going to say Kirby drew way more work than what Stan Lee wrote, you know, in that sense. You know, I'm not going to, you know, add any more to that. I'm not going to say anything. But when it comes to that, I'm going to stand by Kirby. As much as what has been put out, I'm going to stand by Kirby. You know, and I'm going to do my homework, and next week I'm going to put it out without right or wrong. I'm going to state it whether you on or not. I know you're going to be in the chat or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Nigga, not even that. I'm going to hit you up. You know, either way. I'll be at work at 1 o'clock, hit you up. Yo, you at lunch? Yo, check it out. Yeah. And I told you, Kirby put out more work. Here's the links. Go Google it. I got you.
Yo, Krash. So
what's that, Skeme?
Since you're not really like the Kirby fan, and like you really don't like his work like that. You respect him, but you don't necessarily like his work. I'm just gonna go ahead and say this with Morb now. You might as well just give us every Kirby issue of anything you got in your collection. You might as well just give it up. What are you holding on to something that you don't like?
You know my address already.
Because I like the stories. I like the writing.
Well, why don't you just get Braille so you ain't got to look at his horrible work?
You know what I'm saying?
If they made it in Braille, like new Braille, maybe. It may be a better read.
I'm just saying. You can't read without looking at the pictures.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, man.
You're right. So to me, his work is more placeholder.
Oh my God, this guy, bro. This guy. You know, I'm going to Atlanta soon, so.
Yo, I got the U-Haul truck. I can just bring everything in one shot.
I'm just gonna snatch all your Kirby, bro. That's it. You're not worthy of owning any Kirby.
Yeah, I don't got too many Kirby joints. I'll be honest with you. I don't have too many.
Oh, Morb.
Really? I thought you had some Kirby, though.
No, I do have some. I don't have a big collection of his stuff.
All right, well, we'll take what little bit you got.
Nah. Yeah, sure. Why not? Why not? I'll hook you up.
So check it out, guys. We got about a few more minutes left in the show. Once again, if you're not checking these guys out, hit the link in the bio. You got all the information in there. And if you're not subbed up to me, I don't know what's wrong with you. Sub me up, and y'all already know. If you're catching this replay, I appreciate you. You already know. Thank you so much. And Krash, you're brother. Come on now. Come on.
Really quickly, I want to throw in something really quick before we get off. 2 things. Number 1, congratulate De La Soul for finally owning their masters.
Yep.
Number 2, rest in peace, Chucky Thompson.
Yep.
Yes, you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, he passed. He created some great hits, you know what I'm saying, for Biggie, Mary J. Blige. Yeah. And rest in peace, brother. And your contribution to hip-hop will always be felt.
Yo, Krash, I got a quick challenge for you before we go. Starting next week for 5 days, Monday through Friday, I need you to post what you think are Kirby's best comics on your IG.
Best comics in my collection? Like, yes. Obviously, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So don't post nothing else next week, Monday through Friday.
I may not have enough Kirby books to post.
Now you're lying. You got one.
You got some Kirby in there, bro.
I don't know about well, you know what? I'm gonna look. I'll definitely look, Skeme. Definitely. I'll step up to the challenge.
Give us one book. I'll pull out a book. I'll pull out a Kirby.
Yeah, or just pull out what you think is the best Kirby thing in your collection.
Like right.
Okay. I could do that. I could definitely do that. And I don't know who said it, but I think it was Sove, that I'm the chef because I like to stir the pot.
Yes.
I get that from this dude right here. This guy right here.
You know that, right? That's why I posted it. I was like, yeah, this guy right here, the fucking chef over here.
No, that guy right there. I get all my chef skills from him.
Nah, man. Listen, once again, I love you, my brother. I love you, Skeme. I love you, Krash. Y'all, just so those who don't know, these brothers right here, like Krash, you already know. I already said it to you, and Skeme, I already told you. We already spoke. You guys are mentors to me. You know, I look up to you, brothers. You brothers are very knowledgeable on all levels, and y'all great, amazing human beings. You know, that someone like me, you know, could only gain from. You know, so that's why I continue to keep you guys in my circle. That's why I continue to, you know, pray for you guys and wish nothing but the best for you guys. You know, and I'm so grateful to have you as friends, that I could call you guys as friends. I've known you guys personally. I met you guys personally. You know, it's beyond the internet. You know, and I'm just wanted to put that out there for those who don't know. These are my brothers. You know, it's no, you know, animosity, no bad blood here. We love to discuss this. You know, as you could see, you know, me and Krash, we talk on the phone regularly, almost daily.
All the time.
You know, a Skeme as well. We're constantly speaking with each other, you know, and me and Krash, we always debating, you know what I mean? Like, I love to debate with this brother because he puts you in a different place. He puts things in a different light. Like he said, you know, he sees things a little differently, and that's why I really enjoy speaking with this brother, because he puts you to think differently. You know what I mean? Takes you out of that norm. You know, and with Skeme, it's the same thing. You know, you speak, you know, you think you're gonna get a certain answer, and you get something else, and it's like, okay, that's why I know why I got these brothers around me. You know what I mean? Because as they say, you know, fire refines you, and steel only sharpens steel. You know what I mean? You can't have nothing else but steel to sharpen your steel. You know, so that's why I keep these brothers around. So salute to you two brothers. Thank you so much for, you know, coming on and making this a great show. I think everybody in the chat enjoyed themselves. Those catching the replay, I hope you enjoyed yourself, because today was amazing. I love this topic. I love going at it with my homies. And if y'all enjoyed this, y'all want to see more with my two brothers right here, let me know. Let me know. Yeah. Hit the IG up, DM me, hit me up on here. Let me know if y'all enjoyed this. And y'all
give us some show ideas.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Let us know. If you got some ideas, let us know. I'm open to all of that, you know? So once again, my brothers, Krash, Skeme, thank you so much. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being a part of this. You know, I commend you for taking the time out. you know, once again, make sure y'all get your drink on before we end the night. You know, take your last swigs. I already know.
Salute.
Yo, I know Steve is in here. I hope he was listening about that hip hop stuff. He needs to listen about that stuff. All right, Steve?
No, he already know. He on it. Trust me, he on it. He saw that.
I was giving him props for his little hip hop lyrics not too long ago, and he was like, "What are you talking about?"
Exactly. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Yo,
thanks,
for real,
Steve.
man. It was a great show. Great show, man. Great show.
All right, fellas.
Yeah. So once again, family, appreciate you. For those who ain't following, make sure you follow these brothers because, like I said, they are mentors. They are big bros to me, and I got nothing but love, honor, and respect for these gentlemen. So
I call my brothers sons because they shine like one.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all already know. So once again, it's your boy Morbius. This is Comic Relief, and I catch you next Tuesday.
Peace.
Peace.